Hi there, Team Flyer. How are you? We are not on a Wednesday. We're on a Saturday, May 2nd, with our very super special Mother's Day podcast episodes. And we decided to do this because there's a lot of mothers out there in our community, and you just bring all the love and all the light and all the energy all the time. And I decided to pair up with five beautiful, wonderful human beings, women first and foremost, and then mothers, just to throw extra love your way, of course. So today we have the beautiful Lorraine coming up first with us here on May 2nd. We do have new episodes coming the 2nd, the 4th, the 6th, the 8th, the 10th. Kind of looks like an old little kid rhyme, but you know. We got a super special guest coming on Mother's Day, May 10th, which is such a pleasure to talk to her as well. So yeah, and among all of this, we also have a huge giveaway for your mind, body, and soul. We are going to talk to you about it right at the end of the episode, but first, let's just already dive in with our beautiful Lorraine. Hi!
How are you? It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, to have you on board. When I was creating this, I had to be like, oh my God, Lorraine. It was like, I mean, that's not the only thing you talk about, nor that you talk about it often, because you talk about your journey and, you know, your yoga and all these sorts of things. But a lot of your story through Go to Fly, because, you know, she's already been on the podcast. So go ahead and search for that one, because this is a wonderful episode. You know, you talk about your daughters, of course, and we see them all the time on your feed, on your Insta stories and whatnot. So, of course, so
Well,
happy
a
to have
big
you.
part of my career was actually talking about my daughters because I was the editor of a website for Latina moms, and I have told their stories in so many ways and the stories of my life with them that I'm starting to dig them up a little bit because I'm seeing so many moms that are stuck at home with kids, and I'm like, wow, that's how I did it all the time. It wasn't because of the pandemic; it was just because that's how I did it because I wanted to, and so my kids have grown up with me at home, working from home, and they were just a part of that. So,
And
yeah.
that's exactly when I was thinking about the moms that I've had before as guests, but just in
Mhm.
general, the five moms that we have throughout this, you know, special podcast guest episodes. It's work at home moms who've done
Mhm.
it. You know, your kids are the oldest. I'm like looking at my list. I think, yeah, we are more or less the oldest. We have one on May 10th that they're teenagers as well. But so you've done it for, how old's your oldest again? 18?
She's turning 19 on the 4th of May. So
Alrighty then.
she was my Spanish Mother's Day present
Oh,
when
that's
she was born
right.
19 years ago.
Well, goodness gracious, yeah, 2 days away. Oh, happy early
Yep,
birthday to
yep, yep,
her.
yep, yep.
So yeah, you've been, staying home mom, working your
Mhm.
business, like
Mhm.
building it up for 19 years. We have one who's
Mhm.
just turning one as well, like just two twins who are one or two by
Oh,
now, but still, so anything in between with these super special episodes to showcase that it is possible, that it takes a lot of hard work and love,
it
but
does, yeah.
it is.
But it's
It is
possible.
possible. It's
It
possible.
is.
Here we are. So let's just dive right in. How do you define yourself being a woman, first of all?
Oh goodness. I don't know. I just think I'm a woman or a person who is more of a doer than a considerer or a dreamer. I have dreams, of course, but I it's somebody asked the other day, like, are you more of a dreamer or a doer? And I've said I'm definitely a doer, but this also means that sometimes I do too many things or that I do things that I realize, oh, I should not be doing that because I'm not so good at it or whatever. But the point is that I do and then I find out and I don't live with the what if. So
Oh, that's even better. I love, how we always say over here, take the leap. Just go do it. Just go.
yeah, I'm more like that. And I've done things again, like once I thought that I could sell jewelry, like design it and sell it with the logo of my business, Viva 50, and I didn't sell a single one. And I spent money on it. But now I know that's not what I should be doing, period. And I know it from experience.
There
So
you
that,
go. I think it's so
yeah,
fundamental too. That's why you take the leap and just go for it, because you never
yeah,
know. And then why get stuck with a what if scenario? Nah, life's
yeah,
too short for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, how do you define yourself being a mom?
Oh goodness. Okay, so being a mom for me allowed me to recreate the childhood I never had because I grew up without a mother. So I had my grandmother, And from the age of 5 onwards, she was my mother figure. But I always hungered somehow for that family that I wanted a certain way. And although I divorced when my kids were 4 and 7, or separated and then divorced a little later, but I was able still to be the mother that I wish I'd had. And to me, that to this day seems like, wow, like a dream come true.
Oh, that's super special. I love how you turn, as always, with everything in your whole message, you turn negative to positives without a doubt.
Not all the time, not all the time, but yes, but the thing is that I did get a second chance, and I had a second chance at raising children and being a mother and a stepmother. I've had both, and I've been both. And the growing up with the stepmother and no mother and all that allowed me to be, I feel, a better stepmother and a better mother, for sure.
For sure. Definitely. So, talking a little bit more about hardships, what was the hardest part, or what is the hardest part of being a mom?
So for me, when the kids were little, it was because I was an older mom as well. I had my first child at 37 and immediately turned 38, and the second one at 40 and turned 41. I had always thought that I wanted to be a young mother because my dad and I are relatively close. I mean, not close in age, but he's 24 years older than me, and I felt that that still works well. And I thought I didn't want to have kids beyond 25, but how life happened, I just didn't have them, and that was it. And so I still wanted kids when I was older, and I had them. So because I was older, perhaps I realized I cannot put my work or my career on hold because of having children. And so I already came into motherhood realizing I was going to have to juggle those two things all the time. So when they were little, it was kind of hard because it wasn't because I still had to meet deadlines at home with two kids, little kids, babies, you name it, anything that was going on with them, including moving countries and, being alone at home in a new country with the two girls and writing books. I mean, I bought a play yard and I would sit in it with my laptop so that the girls could play around me while I was working. So, I've done things like I had to do an interpreting job once, and I didn't have a babysitter for the baby, and she was around 8 months maybe. And I said, F it, I'm just gonna put her on my back on a backpack for babies. And I was wearing a suit and I just showed up for this job, this gig as an interpreter, and I said, my babysitter failed me. I'm sorry, that wasn't true. I didn't have one. And I'm here to do the job. And I did it. The baby didn't cry, thank goodness. And nobody treated me different because I just acted like there was no baby on my back. And so I have a million stories like that. And I don't know how I did it. Honestly, when I think of it, I'm like, what? I had the guts to do that. But then the hardest part for me was and has been and still is when each of my kids have turned 16, because it seems to be this age where each one of them has gone through the difficult stages of teenagehood. And especially, of course, with the first one, it even though other people tell you, and not all teens are the same, it took me by surprise. And I took it personally. I took the rebelliousness and the you know each child acts out in a different way, and my eldest was going through some stuff that wasn't easy for her, and thank goodness it had nothing to do with drugs or anything like that, but it was hard for her, and it was even harder for me, so hard that I developed irritable bowel syndrome. I didn't realize until later that that was when it started, but it was. And I had this throughout the time that she was acting up at home, and kind of like letting me know that she resented me, that I was the source of her stress, that Not that she hated me, because I don't think she used the words, but that was kind of like the gist of it. And I was I was very unhappy in that time, because most people online knew me as this mother who had these kids that were so great. And I had a lot of shame, because I would see all these other mothers saying, oh, my kids are like this and perfect. I'm like, what the heck did I do wrong for my kid not to want to be with me in the same room? What happened? Why is, it was hard. And now that every time I see a mother with a teen, I really make a point of saying, if you're having a hard time, it's normal. If you're not, good for you. That's great as well. I'm not saying everybody has to have issues with their teens, but I did carry a lot of shame. And then the best thing I did was reach out to other mothers that had gone through that, and crying, tell them how heartbroken and how broken I was inside. And for them to tell me, here's what you're going to do. You're going to put your big girl panties on, and this is how you're going to deal with it. And the truth is that when the defining moment for me was, first of all, kind of talking about it, not in detail, because of course I always say that my story ends when somebody else starts. So I owe it to my kids as well to give them a certain amount of, no, as much privacy as they want. And I never told my eldest story until she was okay with me sharing it. I didn't give details in public until she was okay with me sharing it. And now that she is over this, she's turning 19 in a couple of days, and she looks back on that and she's very embarrassed of things she said and did and all this. And I tell her, just forgive yourself now, immediately.
Immediately.
Like, just don't, like I have. So I forgave her the moment before she even went into all that. And I was telling her, just get rid of that guilt, because it's going to follow you, and you just can't. I forgive you, so you forgive yourself now. She still hasn't, but I think it's important to let the kids know that whatever they do within reason, they are forgiven even before they do it, and they are loved. Especially, they are loved, yeah, whether they act out or not. But again, to parents, I would say, don't feel. I mean, you can, of course, you cannot control your feelings, but you can decide how you're going to manage them. And if you have shame, it's not a useful emotion, especially when you need to be a proactive parent, or take care of yourself first. Reach out to other parents, because behind that facade of, hey, my perfect child, there's probably something else going on.
There you go. That's one of the main points, or the main reasons why I did something like this. And I decided, because it's such a strong and powerful community, first of all, but also it's a huge community. And to make sure, once again, repeating the same word, community, that, to reach out, obviously not to me directly, because, the close I've been a foster mom for 5-6 years, or I haven't been in a while. But I like the fact of getting you all together and be like, oh, you need some help, but you also have teenagers here. There's Lorraine. Oh, you have twin boys here. There's Lacey, and so on and so forth, with all these not little guests, but all these little ways that I can find help to give, obviously, because what you said, it's a community, because it's not going to be picture perfect. And I feel like we also, people who aren't moms like me, it's incredible to have a message like that, because we look not to the future precisely, but in the sense of, we know not to expect, I don't know how to say this, but kind of like, okay, it's going to be a struggle, but it's going to be worth it. And when they're teenagers, it's going to be okay. Like,
well, the thing is, though, that when your kids are little, it doesn't matter. You always think, how can this beautiful little baby this is not going to happen. I mean, you really almost believe it. And no matter what people tell you, and that's a good thing, though, because I realized, if we focused on the hardships that we're going to go through as parents, or as a couple, or whatever, we wouldn't have children. So you need to fall in love with that baby. You need to feel that baby is an angel. And another thing that helped me as well, though, was to tap into my own teenage years. I was a horrible teenager, in my opinion. And so for me also, there was some angst feeling, wow, this is karma coming back at me, like really badly. So there's also that factor of sometimes I feel parents forget what we did or what we thought or what our angst in the teenage years. So there's
Yeah,
that too.
that's definitely true. I do feel great. And I love how you said about with your oldest, with both of them, of course,
Mm.
to give them that privacy, that space, and learn to let go. So, what is trying to find the positive note to all this, of course,
Oh, there is, yeah.
is what is one of your favorite moments with them?
Oh goodness, just realizing that all those years that you thought they were not listening to you when you said things. Oh, I'm gonna cry. When I was in California, where my eldest is living now with my sister, with her godmother, we were driving around and doing things, and she did something like she sat in the car and arranged all her um,
Like the
mirrors,
mirrors.
yeah. And I don't know what I said. I said, "Hey, that's great that you're doing this." And she said, "I remember from you telling me this." And that was just one little tiny thing. But the other day, she had an issue with her bank. Somebody gave her a check that bounced, and she was charged a fee. And then she called the bank and they took away the fee. And I said, "Well, that was great of you to do that." And she's like, "That's because you told me that I should ask, that it doesn't hurt to ask." And of course, I said this maybe years ago. So it's to me, it just brought, it was like, wow,
Hmm.
all those years she was listening.
You were listening.
And and it's happening. And so that is my favorite moment, when you realize that all the hard work was worth it. Oh
Oh.
God, I'm gonna cry again.
Well, I would say we're all here mothers, but no, I mean, we understand that sentiment, and that's what we're
Oh
honoring you and
goodness.
celebrating you and every aspect of being a mom. So definitely worth it. How would they describe you?
Oh, I don't know. The younger one would say I'm a queen, and my oldest, I don't know. I think she would just think that she does, and I think that I'm strong and that I am, somebody to look up to, or not to look up to, but somebody to follow in their footsteps, so to speak, in certain, and to me that is not lost. It's like for somebody who, after having survived those teenage years with her, that the fact that she even thinks I'm interesting or admirable or anything is it means more than anybody else's opinion.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna cry again.
Well, we're gonna keep on going. So,
Oh,
what are words of advice that you've always given them to this very day?
I I have told them many times, and then I've had to deal with it later on, that sometimes they're going to have to go against everybody else's opinions, including mine. And they have, and I've had to sit through it. But I have watched my eldest at 18 travel the world by herself with her money. And of course, some of that her parents, including myself, have given her. But to know that your 18-year-old is bungee jumping in Australia when you're in Florida, and jumping out of planes and things like that is like, wow. But she is living life as I would tell anybody else to live it. So my advice to them has always been, stick to what makes you happy, as long as it's not hurting you. And again, you will make decisions that I will not be happy with sometimes, but I also tell them they're going to have to deal with that too.
And that's something super important that I know I've always had in mind, because the way my mom taught me as well. There's like, children are not your property, they're
Mm-hmm.
lives,
Yep.
basically. And yeah, when they're little, they're yours, and when they're
Mm-hmm.
teenagers, we'll see. But after that, they're still going to be partly yours, because of course you made them, but they're their own individual person. So I love the statement you said, like, this is what I want for everybody, and not just because
Mm-hmm.
it's my child. It's any
Mm-hmm.
different.
Well, it's hard though, because like
Mm.
recently, my youngest came out. She's turning 16 soon, the dreaded age in my household anyway. Um, but my daughters used to have long hair. I have long hair. I love it. And my youngest walked out of her room and she had snipped her hair short, complete like a pixie cut, right? And I was completely shocked. But and so she was upset that I was upset. And then I said, but I wasn't upset like I yelled or any of that. It was just like, whoa, I just realized it's her hair, it's her, she's growing up. And whether I like her hair short or long or blue or yellow, it's her hair. And I did tell her, I said, you're going to have to deal with the fact that I'm not going to like every decision that you make, but that's your issue. It's not my issue. The same way that there are things that I do and wear and whatever that they're not super okay with, but they have to deal with it, right? So I said it goes both ways. And it's an adaptation. I did it, I continued to do it. My eldest, the shock that I got with her was that I took her to get her first small tattoo that is exactly like one I have on one of my ankles. And I thought, I told her before that before 18 she could not get tattoos. When she was 18 she could do whatever she wanted, and that I would take her and that would be my birthday present, and it was. So I thought, well, by taking her, that's it. She's not going to run out. But guess what? She has several big tattoos all over, and she's going to get more. And of course, my first reaction when I saw the first one all over her forearm, was like, and I have several, but so this is like a double standard that you're like, okay, I can have them because I like them small and delicate or whatever. She likes them big and bold and in your face, but she's also a teen. And it's all this stuff that you have to come to terms with, and saying, what would I tell a person who's not my daughter? I would be like, well, do whatever you want. It's your body, right? So you have to. It's an exercise in letting go. And I'm not saying
Mm.
it's not easy. It's definitely not
Oh
easy.
gosh, no, especially when it's your child, like of course.
Mhm, mhm.
But it's just like setting yourself aside of like, okay, you're 18. Okay, you can get that tattoo, pink hair, or join the military. It's kind of like, okay. It's where your life technically begins.
I mean, it's funny because when I was younger, I mean, back then I remember I wanted pink hair when I was, I don't know, 18, 19. But in Spain back then, they wouldn't dye it for me. So I bought, I don't know why, I mean, now you can do whatever, but I bought spray that was pink, and I did it, put all of my hair. And I was teaching at my dad's language institute, and he sent my sister and me home because we had pink hair. Of course, we could wash it out, but still, we've done plenty of stuff to shock my father. So.
Exactly. So we have to remember those moments as well.
Of course.
What is one of the most rewarding things about being a mom?
Oh my God, I don't know everything. I mean, there's this for me. There's an underlying, like when I first became a mom, the day that my eldest was born, I was up all night looking at her, thinking, I cannot believe that she exists, that I did this, that well, her dad did something too, but mainly I did the heavy lifting. And I was scared that something would happen to her. And to this day, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, because there's always that fear of something happening to them. But then the rewards to me are, I don't know, that unconditional, crazy love that I know that I won't have for anybody else. And my husband, who is my kid's stepfather and who has his son, the great thing is that we both came into the relationship knowing that, we've discussed this. We don't have children together. The closest we have is my youngest, because she met my husband when she was 5 and she's 16, so almost 16. So that's a lot of years, and it's almost like she's our kid. She is the one that would be both. And he was telling me one day, like that he was describing that total crazy love that you have for your child. And we both know that neither of us is competing with the other's children, because we both understand the feeling of loving someone like that. And it's truly something that my dad told me. He says, you will never know true love until you have a kid. And I think he was right.
What has been or what is in general the most exciting milestone or one of the most excitings?
Of the kids?
Yep.
I don't, so many. There's just so many. Like when they're little, especially with the first one, like I remember the exact day that she took her first steps. It was April 23, 18 years ago. Imagine. I remember that. But I remember it because it was International Book Day. I'm a writer.
Yes,
And
exactly. I was gonna
so that
say.
it is like a special date. And of course, I don't know when my youngest took her first steps. I have no clue, like but so for your first kid, you're so excited for every freaking milestone. You remember when they got the first teeth, when they did this, when they did that. Later on, it stops being about those milestones, and it's more like, now that I've gone through motherhood like 3 times, so to speak, now, because my stepson is between the girls' age. So they're right now they're 15, 16, 17, all of them turning a year older around the same month or two. And it stops being about milestones and it starts being about connection. And for example, as a blended family, we have our challenges now also with my stepson, but I have to say that the 3 kids growing up together and being better than siblings, like my sister and I, when I was a kid, we used to fight. I mean, we fought with our fists and we tore each other's hair out. It was not pretty. But with these guys, they've never done that. And I'm that fills my heart. Like, to know that in the end, we're like a clan. And that kind of
Oh.
feels good. That is it. That to know that you're that rock, that the family is that rock. My daughter is now in California and she still like sends me photos of her. Oh, I have something on my skin. What should I do? And mommy, what should I do for this? Like, she's still that reference. And at the same time, I have my father who I still, talk to all the time. And so it's that idea of having created that, I don't want to call it a sanctuary, but that safe place where they know that they can go.
Exactly. And I think that's definitely the most important thing you can have coming from your parents and also giving your kids. It kind of works
Hmm.
both ways, of course. Um, I like this next question, and I know it's going to make you, of course, a little bit more sentimental, but what habits do your kids make you the most proud?
Oh God, did they take care of themselves? They self-care. I told them from when they were itty bitty babies and toddlers, I'm like, mommy needs to take a nap because of this and this and this. Mommy needs to work out because blah blah blah. And they both, my girls at least do it. The boy is a boy, but the girls understand this. And they both practice sports. They both understand the importance of self-care, including having therapy if they need it, and including dealing with their emotions and solving problems, emotional problems. And that is what makes me proud, to know that they are aware of their needs, their wants and needs, especially.
I love how you also mentioned for little 2 seconds, even when they were little, it's like mommy
Hmm.
needs to take a nap, and the fact that you're
Oh hell
always
yeah.
all about that self-love. It's like I love
I mean,
you.
I knew it. And it's interesting because I had to fight my way through that with my former father-in-law, who is unfortunately passed away. But I remember once, I said to him, I need to take a nap. I needed to go to get a massage or something, and could you please take care of the little one, right? Because the other one was in daycare. And he kind of made me feel really bad about it. And I said, fine, but I'm still going. Here you go. Here's the baby. And he wanted to make me feel like shit. And I didn't, I just didn't let him. And I don't know, I really don't know. I'd like to say that that there's a reason behind that. But I just have this strong survival instinct. And from a very young age, where you're left a little bit to deal with your own emotions and figure things out for yourself. Like I've mentioned in the last podcast, that I struggled with depression, anxiety, eating disorders, etc. And I didn't want my daughters to have to do that alone if they ever had to deal with any of those issues. So, so I tried to make sure that I kept on taking care of myself, because I knew that if I didn't get that massage, if I didn't go to therapy, if I didn't do this or that, I was not going to be a good mother. Because, you know, one day I was actually driving with the girls, and I had a panic attack after moving from Spain. I was not taking medication at the time. And I realized I have to take myself to a doctor, because I, these kids need a mother that doesn't get panic attacks in the car, you know, because I could kill them. I mean, honestly. So I've always considered that it's vital to take care of yourself to be a good, just to be a good functioning human being.
I adore it. I adore that message without a doubt. That's such an important message to be repeated over and
Yeah.
over again, that self-care is the best kind of care.
And again, it's not like take a bath. It's like
Yeah,
if you need
exactly.
medication for your mental health, you take it.
There you
If
go.
you need
Take it.
therapy, you go get it. If you
It
know,
goes beyond that without a doubt. It's like, okay, great. A spa is great. A massage is great, but go mind, body, and soul all interlinked
oh,
without
and
a
all
doubt.
my children have been in therapy, just because it's, you know, I consider it just as important, and they've asked for it. You know, it's not something where I said, hey, you need to go. It's like they have asked for it, and I have offered the opportunity to get it, and zero stigma, because I come from a generation where we were like, I went to therapy in hiding from my family, because it was not, there was a lot of stigma around it back then, and I felt less than, and I felt embarrassed and ashamed. And I am happy that I can share with my kids that, you know, mommy has a chemical imbalance, and I take these medications that make me feel and function just as somebody else does without them. So,
There you go. And that kind of honesty and transparency as well. It's such
but I
an
have to
important.
say that I did wait until they were old enough.
Well,
And in fact, that was, and it was almost by mistake. Like, I have a running band with an
mm-hmm.
ID in case something happens to me when I'm running, you know, and I, whatever. And it lists a phone number and also the medication I take. So one day I had gone for a run, and then whatever, I didn't, you know, sat out to dinner. And my youngest, I forget, she was way younger than that, she read the
The,
band, and she said, why do you take Lexapro and Clonopin? Is it because of us? Or is it because of me? And I said, oh no, honey.
no,
And she
honey.
knew it because of music. Because remember that they're listening to music where they're talking about Prozac, they're talking about, you know, the rappers,
That is incredible.
and that's how they knew what it was, not because I had told them. So then I explained to them, well, this, I take it because of this, because I was born that way.
I love exactly what you said again once more, of like, it also depends on the age, because I've,
Mm-hmm.
once again, not a mom, but I've dealt with kids all my life. I have these set of three girls who are like my little sisters, and I took care of them when they were 8 and 9, because they're twins, and then one's like an 8-year-old, well, a year younger, better said. Now they're 15, just turned 15, and the
Oh my
twins
God.
are going to be 17, and it's a whole, they're Spanish, it's a whole different world. I can understand them completely. But you know, when we met and whatnot, I was very open to the family. They knew my struggles. We talked so much about everything I've gone through, and that's how they said, like, oh, we want to hire you because you, like, we love what you're doing, etc., etc., who you are. We became extremely close. Once again, they're like my little sisters. They tell me everything that they go through. Point being to the story was, I had to wait until they're a little older. Of course, now they know about my struggles, about my sexual abuse, about my medication, and all these sorts of things, because now they're older. Like, I can't tell you, like, even though their bond is really strong when they're 8 and 9 or 11 or 12, I told them basically last year when they were older. They were like 14 and 16, I want to say. So they can comprehend more, see more, etc. So yeah, definitely with that. Everything with with its time.
Well, for me, it was like I wasn't even going to tell them anything, but it was a mistake. And again, I didn't realize she was going to read my. I had been wearing that bracelet for years, and they never looked at it. But I did. You know, there are things that I have shielded them from. For example, I've always had fear of heights, um, but I've always tried to overcome it. So I've gone on roller coasters with them. I've done things that I would normally do just because I didn't want them to grow up afraid,
Mm.
or for them to know that I even had that. And once, and this was completely unplanned, also a few years ago, we were at this water park when they were younger. I think the eldest was 12, so imagine. And I was walking up this very high slide in a water park. And at some point, I just couldn't keep walking because I was getting that, the tightness, the feeling not okay. And I just had to sit down and I couldn't keep climbing. And of course, the girls came to see what was wrong. And when I said, I just can't keep going. And I explained what happened. They were like, we didn't know that you had fear of heights. So for 12 years, I hid it very well. And, so my lesson to them, I mean, my is just do things anyway, like there are some things I still can't do, because I do get physically, I don't have that 100% self-control where I can go up on the highest, whatever. I'm pretty good at, with yoga and breathing and all that, and focusing on the now. I'm better, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to maybe jump out of a plane ever. And I'm okay with that. But my eldest has.
What your eldest has, exactly. That's why I was laughing.
So
Like, well, your
to
eldest.
me, yeah. So to me, that means that I was successful in not passing on that. I didn't want them
There
to
you
learn
go.
it. Does
There
that
you
make
go.
sense? It's
Yeah,
like
like breaking that
maybe they would
cycle of
have
past
it.
traumas.
Yeah, but I didn't want them to say, "Oh, well, if my mother has this, then I have it too." Like no. And
Exactly. What is your vision for them and their future?
whatever they want. I have zero agenda. It's their agenda. And I always told them, like, my only requirement was that they would finish high school, And my eldest is actually not enrolled in college right now. She's figuring out what she wants to do. She started college, and then I realized she was taking some classes like photography, but she really couldn't take pictures. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm paying all this money and you can't take a picture. So, learn on YouTube maybe and then figure it out. So honestly, I just want them all to have the basic education. I mean, I think high school is reasonable to ask for. I don't have a college education. I never finished it because of my eating disorder. It wasn't by choice. I'm not going to go back to college that I know of, because I'm 57 and I just make a living pretty well doing what I do, and I don't feel I need to do that. But I would of course want them to have some basic something to fall back on. But really, I want them to be happy and to be good people, and that's it.
Perfect then, of course. What was the most surprising thing, or what has been the most surprising thing, of course, that you discovered about being a mom?
That it allowed me to be a better person.
Oh.
It taught me to be a better person. It was like I was really screwed up until I decided, like, I'm gonna get ready and have a child, like for real, like, because I was a certain age already, and I really had to get my body. I was still actively in the middle of not in the middle. I had an eating disorder that spanned 20 years, but of course the last few years were way better than the first ones, where the relapses were fewer and far between, and things like that. But I made this, and I was already doing sports and all that, but I made this conscious decision of, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to take more care of myself, I'm going to watch my thoughts and blah blah. So I embarked in this, let's get ready to get pregnant. And it wasn't happening, and I was this far, very close to getting treatments, hormonal treatments, but I didn't need them in the end. And so what I really was blown away by is that when I had a child, against all odds, because I know that for people with eating disorders, getting pregnant and having children and all that, and seeing all the bodily changes is a worse trigger and sometimes spirals them into a worse, eating disorder. For me, it was the opposite. And it gave there was like this big sense of purpose, like, wow, my body can do this, and I am capable of caring for another person when I wasn't even capable of caring for myself before. So it really, honestly, I almost think that motherhood saved me in a way.
That's so
Really.
sweet.
I mean, and I'm not saying this is the answer for everybody. I'm
Exactly,
not saying that
exactly. We're
is the
just
way.
talking.
Like, I don't know, maybe if I had had kids younger, I would have been like recovered sooner, or not, or maybe I would have
Who
screwed them up.
knows?
I
Exactly.
don't know.
We don't
There
do the
is no
what
right
ifs.
or wrong. There
Exactly.
is no right or wrong answer. Yeah.
No. So going back a little bit to your kids again, of course, as always, imagine them 10 years down the road. So at basically 26 and basically 29. And well, your stuff's in between, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And they come across this episode. What would you say to them?
Oh goodness. Well, I just hope that you guys pursued your dreams and made them happen. That's all really.
That's
And that's it. That's it. And that you're happy people. And that's it really. It's just, I mean, life is too damn short
yep.
to for anything else. It's like, we can make all these plans, but here's the thing, that there is no one way to be happy. So
Mm-hmm.
for some people, that is living in one place, having financial stability, having a job, doing this, which I believe that financial stability, as we all are finding out now, it doesn't exist. But the point is that happiness is so individual. That like what I do for a living, like in the middle of all this pandemic, I am a happy camper. And I'm really sorry for everybody who lost a lot and they're suffering. I went through that in 2008. But right now my life is like, I make a living online, I still have work, I can make a difference, I'm giving yoga away for free, I work out every day, I meditate, I have a nice family. I mean, but that's my happiness. I have a friend who is working from home and she is so friggin' unhappy that I was telling her, you need to be happy that you have a job, to begin with. But so, not everybody's cake looks the same, that makes you want
So
to eat it.
that's why I just want to make sure that they're happy in general. I agree. I completely agree. My kind of happiness is close to yours in the sense of I work from home and it makes me happy. A 9 to 5 job doesn't. But happiness is everyone's, like you said, kind of cup of tea. It's really different. So as long as in 10 years' time, our kids are as happy and healthy as they can be. Of
That's it.
course.
That's it.
What is something that they've taught you?
Oh goodness. Um, what is something they've taught me? That you can actually be, goodness, introspective old soul when you're younger. Like they both are. My 18-year-old goes against everything that anybody would say about any 18-year-old. You know, she makes things happen. Um, she says these things that are like, wow. Once I told her, you need to be telling adults this, and the younger one about relationships. I don't know. It's just that there is, okay, I think this is it, that there is no age to being mature inside, and it's interesting because when kids are that age, they go between, like, again, I talk more about the older one because she's still in the middle of adulthood and not being an adult, so she'll go from being looking and feeling like a little kid to suddenly she's this adult, right? So they're still going here and there, but actually that there is no, goodness, that age is, oh god, I don't even know how to say this, that there is, that we classify people, right? We say teenagers, and even myself, I just said teenagers are like this, and people who are in their 20s are like this. That's not true. People are a certain way, whether they're 14, 15, 20, or 80.
And you're living proof of that. That's their whole brand. That's Viva 50. That's everything that we've talked in our previous podcast for y'all to like recap that. The episode's there. But that's exactly who you are. That's the message of
But
your
here,
kids are.
sometimes the thing that freaks me out is like, wait a minute, I'm actually like 56, which of course to people older than me, they're all like, you're a kid, you're a kid. I said, right. But to somebody 20 years younger, I'm not. So the point is that when I see 56, I'm like, whoa, that's a lot, and the fact that I can connect with younger people and feel what they're feeling. Like sometimes I prefer to be around younger people.
Preach.
Because of the joy and that want and that,
Passion. I don't know
I
that.
still have
Yeah.
that.
Yes. And we should, no matter the age. Oh, I love it. Hence, that's what they're teaching you. And that's what they've taught you in general, that they're just 18 going on 19, the oldest, like we keep saying. And there's so much wisdom and there's so much
Like
there.
there is, if you watch young people, they can teach you a lot
Yeah.
as well, you know.
It's always good to have young people in your life. I feel like both extremes are good, and this is the only time where extremes are good, I guess. But it's kind of like now that I mention it. But
Yeah,
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 like kids who are like 10 years younger and older people who are 10 years older, and not that
yeah.
they're elderly by any means, but just kind of somewhere in between. There you go, because there's something you can learn from both, without a doubt.
Mm.
Going back almost 19 years, what would you tell a first-time mother to be?
I'm relaxed, honestly, because um, when I had the first one, of course, it's like you drive back from the clinic, very slowly and think that everything. Oh my God, we would turn off the phone ringer, so like you're so careful. And then with the second one, it was like whatever. We moved to a different country. I would bathe her in this kitchen sink. I had no extras because we didn't bring them from Spain, and she's just fine, even more resilient than the other one.
Then there you go.
She just rolls with the punches. And the other one was more like, oh, the special this, the special that, so they're just too freaking relaxed. It's not as, but of course, you know what? Everybody can tell you that, but while you're going through it, it's not easy. So there's also that.
I love that. So there's
Just
also that.
try
There you
and
go.
enjoy it. Like
Just
try and
enjoy and
enjoy it
relax.
and
Okay.
sleep. Like when the kid sleeps, that I did that. I did not, or you would not find me cleaning the house. I slept while the babies were sleeping. So
Also fundamental. I'll also keep that in mind because I do love a clean house, but I need my
oh
naps.
no, no, no. You
So
need to sleep. Yeah.
it's like just sleep. The kids are gonna wake you up in 2 hours. Go sleep.
Yep.
if
Yep.
if you're
Yep.
lucky. How are you celebrated? Talking about Mother's Day, not only for Mother's Day, just in
Yeah.
general.
Well, I think my kids appreciate me a lot. And I feel appreciated a lot. And by everyone actually. It's again, we're not, and I've already shared this, we've had our ups and downs and still have our struggles, but the point being that if you don't take everything for granted, like Alexia, the 16-year-old almost, she has a chore, which is doing the dishes. Even though she's supposed to do them and that's her chore, I still say thank you. And we always say thank you to whoever cooked dinner, my husband or myself. We are supposed to cook dinner, but it doesn't hurt to say thank you. And so it's celebrating those things. Even Alexia sometimes says, thank you so much for working so hard, or thank you so much for working from home. So you were always here when I got back from school and stuff like that. Well, that I feel is, I feel appreciated. I do.
Oh, I love that. How have you changed as a person since becoming a mom?
I exactly what I said before. I not only became more self-aware,
Mm-hmm.
I think I became less selfish, and it wasn't all about me. And so being able to put somebody else before my own needs, even though I've always taken care of myself, but also, it was as if my heart expanded, my I was capable of more. I was like, wow, this just gave me, if I was already a multitasker, not doing a gazillion things at once, because I don't believe in that, but able to run a lot of projects and be creative and all that. I was like, I can just, integrate these guys into my life, and boom, there we go. And that I was capable of way more than I ever thought.
That is just so perfect. So, of course, thank you for being here, for being part of this like super special podcast episode. I really wanted to make sure that our audience, because luckily through the Always Believer, like we mentioned before, there's a lot of moms out there in our community, because I think the message is the same. That
Mhm.
self-love, self-care, empowerment, and we just want to make sure that you feel celebrated in any way, shape, or form. Before we talk about the giveaway, tell us a little bit more about you, where we can find you, what you do, so our audience knows, even though our links are down below, her podcast episodes down below, her previous, for Godify. Tell us a little bit about you, my darling.
Well, I'm basically a communicator. I'm a writer, and I have a few websites. I'm also into sports a lot. I used to be a fitness trainer, and now I'm a yoga teacher. So those two things permeate everything I do. And my main website is LorraineCLadish.com. I have others,
Exactly.
but that's the
That's
main
the
main.
main one.
Yeah, that's the one where you can branch out to everything else I do.
I agree. Definitely all linked up below. As far as the rest of what we are saying with the special podcast episodes, we had you to start with. Tomorrow, we're finally going to announce our special guest for May 10th. And are you all very excited for that? And that's where the giveaway is. So there's a post through the Always Believer, of course. And all you're going to have to do is, well, follow along, obviously. We're going to have the giveaway consists of mind, body, and soul. So,
Mm,
Radiant Mommy, who's going to be in our podcast special episode on Monday the 4th, your oldest girl's
mm,
birthday, basically. So on
mhm.
the 4th, you get to find about Ixiana, and she's giving away a signed copy of her new book, featuring her signature program to help you feel happier, healthier, and balanced. It's a 3 program. She pushed it all in a book. She's going to be on our podcast through the same kind of questions and just vibe and tell us a lot more about it on Monday. Liv, Style by Liv, we always have giveaways with her, and she's not only a nurse, she's also a beauty counter specialist. So it's all natural products, super healthy, vegan. It's definitely so. With her, what she's giving away, it's a 30-minute complimentary skincare consultation to find the best clean beauty products just for you. And lastly, and definitely not least, a little bit of your soul with me, which is a 30-minute coaching session to make your best self shine, basically. So we just covered all our what's called our our
Faces.
cases. No, yeah, cases, yeah, right. So mind, body, and soul.
It's a lot.
And so check out tomorrow's post. You're gonna, just follow us, tag a person, and that's all you do to enter. Literally. Thank you once again, Lorraine, for being part of this special super program.
Mm,
Thank you for
thank
everything you
you.
do and all the light in the world that you give out. And I'm always super happy to just have you on board with anything that we do here. So thank
No, thank
you.
you for taking me down memory lane and realizing how good I have it.
Well, that's the best positive note that we can definitely end with. And it's always a pleasure. All right. Happy early Mother's Day, of course, to you.
Thank
But
you.
it's all year long. It's all month long. It's every day for me. All
Every
right.
day.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
You too.